right. So we're excited to have Andy Caulfield with us today. Andy and I have known each other for so many years through the photo industry and other multiple connections. But
So true.
we are here to kind of talk about this exciting project on Madonna that you shot in 1984, right?
That's correct. 39 years ago.
39 years
Glad
ago.
to be here with you to chat about it.
That's great. So, so what we wanted to talk about a little bit is about the history of this project, how it came about for you, and our connection, with our new digitization system.
So the project, which is my book 1984, which was released this year, is the photographs that I took 39 years ago on the occasion of Madonna's Borderline video. I had worked with the director of the video for several years on commercial and personal projects, and she had invited me to do a portrait session with Madonna because the story revolves around Madonna and a photographer, so she needed a portfolio to show. So I did a photo shoot a couple of days before the video shoot, and those prints were pulled and made into a couple that she leaves through briefly in the video, and then used as a video prop, as a prop magazine on a magazine stand. And then I also worked on the video shooting production stills, as well as I was the second unit filmmaker on the video.
That's been kind of an exciting time to be photographing and documenting in the music industry. That was a pretty interesting time for you to have that kind of access.
Absolutely, although it's interesting, most everyone I've talked to in the preparation for the book, no one knew who she was, didn't think she was going anywhere, and as much as we all had a good time on the shoot, it was sort of like, okay, next.
So let's fast forward to 2021, I think, and you have this treasure trove of negatives from a photo shoot. How did you and NJG Studios in the UK connect?
If I could back up a little bit, I just want to, there had been some interest years ago, 7 years ago, an author who has his own book called Encyclopedia Madonica contacted me after he had done an interview with the director for his book, and she said, Andy's the person who shot those photos. So he asked me if he could license some pictures for his book, and I couldn't find the pictures. So I looked and looked, and then his deadline passed for printing, and so nothing happened. During COVID, I was slow like everybody and was in my studio, thought, this is time to go into the archive and sort things out. So it was the COVID years, and I had a lot of free time, and so I decided to organize my archive. And one of the things I found as I was working on a personal project was I found these Madonna negatives and proofs. And that got me to thinking, could I do anything with these? Around the same time, the noted celebrity photographer Art Streiber was doing a webinar for ASMP. And I attended the webinar, and he's just a very generous person with ending his talk with, if you have any questions whatsoever, send it to the studio. So after the webinar, I sent him a note, and I just said, I took these pictures of Madonna back in 1984. Is there anything I can do with them?
Yeah.
And he was cautious at first. He said, well, why don't you send me a couple before we have this conversation? So I sent him 3 thumbnails. He said, Andy, these are great. He goes, you didn't sign a contract, there's nothing limiting you? I said, no paperwork. What could I do? He goes, well, technically in the trade we call these obituary photos. And not harsh, being realistic. And I said, no, I get it, but he goes, they're really great. And he goes, I think if you would like to do something with them, I'd like to refer you and introduce you to my picture agent, which is August Image in New York City. And so that started a process in which I got involved with August Image. Same thing, showed some pictures they considered representing them. And all during that process, Matthew Redimond, who was the person who originally contacted me 7 years earlier, was chatting with this person he knew, Nick Groark in London, a limited edition fine art bookseller. and said, you know, if you're going to do another Madonna book, because he has done several with other photographers, he goes, you really should look at Andy's work.
Oh, great.
And that started the process.
So that's when I think that's when you and I got reconnected, because then there was the editing process that you must have done.
It sort of in two phases. First, I worked on the representation with August. So what I did is we scanned a small subset, and you and I had worked on some projects in the year before when you had just started offering digitization.
Yep.
And the work was so much better than what I was able to do myself. I've always had the ability to scan and print in-house, just you know, to do personal projects.
Yep.
And I was really unhappy with what I was getting, and I was just blown away by the quality of the scans that I got on my personal project, and decided this is what I'd like to do. I'm gonna scan these things once, and that's it. I want to retouch the highest resolution and never have to go back and forth. And so I approached you and said, you know, I've got this work, and we started first with a small group of, I think, 25.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got the book contract, I brought you the other 100.
Yeah. Very exciting. I mean, they're such iconic images of an emerging star.
Absolutely.
Like, you caught her at just a great time in her career.
As the director says in the book, Mary Lambert says, it was the beginning of her meteoric rise.
Yeah.
She had been photographed many times by many photographers, and she knew how to work the camera. I give myself credit for focusing, but the look is all Madonna.
Yeah. How did you and Nick at NJG Studios decide then, with the project moving forward, you came up with an edition of 700 books?
800.
800 books, and 100 of those were going to have this iconic print in it, right? This one singular print that we have, this which we produced as a silver gelatin print.
Yeah, beautifully. Correct. Everyone has raved about the quality, and Nick, the publisher, was just blown away by the quality of the print. So really, the decisions fall into what Nick has done previously with his other projects. He tends to do a limited edition book and then 100 prints with the book. So it was sort of his format.
He had a model.
He had a model, a successful model for selling books. He's done books, several on Madonna. He's done one on Prince. He just finished one on Basquiat. So he knows what he's doing, and he is also not only the publisher, he's the book designer.
Okay.
And so we had to talk about what we would do. The book has some color images, also the DSI scanned or digitized, and we worked back and forth trying to establish a little bit of where in Los Angeles that this was shot, and then have a counterpoint to the photographs. My whole process working with Nick has been terrific, and he's been very collaborative in the process. And one of the things he related back to me after he'd gone to the press check, he said to me that the pre-press people said these were the best files they had to work with in years.
That's great. Well, I really want to thank you for having collaborated with us on this project. It fits into our strengths, I think, where we can sort of help people go through the entire process. But the digitization, you doing the editing on these high-res files, and then, you know, I think making that real special limited edition with a print was a really exciting thing. Can you tell us about the launch of the book and how successful it was? Because I'd like to end on that note, because it's a wonderful story.
It is a great story. So Nick has been doing this for several years, knows his market, knows his audience very well. And so first he teases that the book's coming, then he has a pre-sale, and in the pre-sale, all the books were offered, but especially the ones with the limited edition print. And after the pre-sale day, he contacted me and he said, it almost melted my servers. We sold all 100 books with the print in 4 minutes.
Wow. Bravo. It's a great story, Andy, and we really appreciate you collaborating with us again, and we're excited to have another project in the works with you. And
prints to do. There's all sorts of things, and I'm glad to be associated with DSI because of the quality of the work and this great staff.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.